Alright everyone, happy new week. This is Hamish from 67 Hail Hail, coming live as far as you're concerned into your ears and your eyes on this Monday evening. We're still in the midst of an international break. We've got a few days of that to go. Then we can get back into the frank discussion about Celtic potentially winning all three domestic trophies this season. Celtic are back this weekend on Sunday away to Ross County, and on today's video we'll have a wee bit of a chat about that kind of stuff, obviously international stuff as well, and what this week has in store for us. Really, that's what we're aiming for. Please subscribe to us. That's kind of it. We're less than 100 now away from 35,000. I know there's 100 of you watching this right now who aren't subscribed to the channel. So see if you just I was going to say if you pause the video. Don't even have to pause the video. I'll just stop talking. I'll give you 5 seconds. Leave the video quickly. Click the wee subscribe button. Come back. Go for it now. Go on. Brilliant. Right, thank you very much. We can move on with the show. I really appreciate that. Right, we're starting today's video with the Pope. A big fan of the channel, of course, that goes without saying. Also, apparently a big fan of Stevie as well, and Stevie's clothing in particular. If an image that I'm just about to show you, well, in fact 2 images, is anything to go by. So here we have a celebrated figure who spends a lot of time at home and doesn't have a great amount of time for Rangers. And Stevie as well, alongside him. Yeah, both clearly getting ready for that next East 17 video. You've probably seen that image of the Pope going around. But sadly, it's at this point that I must turn into 67 Hail Hail reality check and inform you that that image that you just saw of the Pope isn't in fact real. It's actually totally fake, according to Forbes. That's the American business magazine, not Kate. Bad luck, by the way. But who's to say that Forbes aren't the ones who are lying? I'm not quite sure how we've managed to start the video in this way. Let's try and get it back on topic. Stevie, I guess, will be back in the channel at some point soon, as will Asim, John, probably from the weekend onwards as we get back into Celtic. We'll have Jackie on the channel next week as well in the lead up to that big derby against Rangers. But yeah, Celtic are back in a few days. I always feel like in international breaks, it's getting through that first week that's the big one. It's where we're at now, 5 or 6 days away from the game at the weekend. It's kind of where we'd normally be on a Monday, unless you've got a midweek fixture. So feeling good about it. Hopefully this week is going to fly in. We did have a Celtic game of sorts at the weekend there. We spoke about it a little bit last week. It was Liverpool legends against Celtic legends at Anfield. I believe the crowd was around about 48,000 at Anfield, which is just exceptional. Around 6,000 or so Celtic fans you can see there as well. Vast majority packed in that end of the stadium. But as you can see around the whole stadium at Anfield, it was very busy on what was a lovely day in Liverpool. Liverpool did win the match 2-0, but as the Celtic Foundation put it on Twitter, charity was the real winner, which I think some people should probably remember. Well done everyone who was involved in any way in that game. While that was going on, I dare say a few of you at least, would have been at Hampden for Scotland versus Cyprus. It finished 3-0 with a couple of late Scott McTominay goals, adding a bit of gloss there, it's fair to say. I just thought Scotland were a bit of a drag. But Callum McGregor certainly wasn't. I mean, that guy's pretty good, isn't he? He's just a complete joy to watch, whether it's in a Scotland shirt or a Celtic shirt. It was his 50th Scotland cap on Saturday. Celebrated that by winning the Player of the Match award. It's fair to say it is going to be a step up for him and his teammates against Spain tomorrow, but I think it's the kind of game that McGregor will really rise to. We only have to go back to match day 1 of the Champions League against Real Madrid, and yes, with the usual caveats of for the first 50, 55, 60 minutes, but McGregor was one of the better players on that pitch and looked at home against the likes of Modric and Tchouameni and Kroos, so excited to see him up against the likes of Rodri, whoever else Spain have in the midfield tomorrow. I think McGregor could be a big player for Scotland. It was interesting to hear John McGinn mention the pitch at Hampden after the game, and not positively, it's fair to say. The players clearly not 100% or maybe even 80% happy with the pitch at Hampden. Now, in the Sunday Post, McGinn said, if we have any excuse, it was the pitch. It was really tough to play on. I remember watching Celtic versus Rangers a few weeks ago and it looked the same. It was tough to play on for both teams and it might not suit Spain. Hopefully they water it before Tuesday. It was just tough, underfoot and slippy. A lot of the players were falling about, even big Angus Gunn. It was difficult to play our stuff, but thankfully we clicked late on and got another 2 goals. Now, as I say, I was at the game on Saturday. The pitch did look sticky would probably be the best word I could use to describe it. Maybe isn't totally clear in this footage, but it's just not the kind of surface you can really zip the ball about on. And it does worry me a bit for the semi-final we've got coming up against Rangers. It would worry me if we were the first semi-final, but I think even more so given that there's a semi-final between Falkirk and Inverness on 24 hours earlier. And it's not as if we've had like horrendous weather really at Hampden over the last kind of week or so. So, yeah, I mean, Celtic should hopefully be good enough to beat Rangers, you know, regardless of the pitch. But I would just much prefer it if it just, as I say, just a bit zippier. It doesn't actually look bad really when you're looking at it, but I can just imagine playing on it and you can just tell from the way the ball moves that it's not the kind of surface you can really zip it about on. But then again, maybe at the final it wasn't like that either and we still found a way to beat Rangers playing really well. So yeah, I guess we can park that for now, but even when you're watching Scotland, you've always got Celtic in the back of your mind. I did notice that Anthony Ralston had dropped out of the Scotland squad. He only actually came into the Scotland squad late, probably about 4 or 5 days ago, so not quite sure what's going on there. And there's a bit of a theme of injuries on international duty as far as Celtic are concerned. Daizen Maeda will return from Japan duty early. He may already be back in Scotland, who knows. We know he was suffering a bit before he went away. I think he missed the game at Tynecastle, came back for the Hibs game. So it just feels like we've got a few of these wee knocks going around at the moment. The other one that's happened recently was Liel Abada, slightly differently. He actually pulled a quad muscle in training for Israel shortly after arriving at their camp. They tried to get him ready to play for them, but then admitted defeat. Abada took to Instagram over the weekend to say, I waited a long time for tonight's game against Kosovo, but unfortunately during my first training this week I got injured. Together with the medical staff, we tried to do everything for me to be competent in the end, but it didn't work. Today I will sit together with the fans in the stands and push my friends on the grass from all my blue love heart. Now, added to this, we have concerns over Greg Taylor and Cameron Carter-Vickers. It's difficult to know exactly what's happening with them because they both played against Hibs, and I think Ange prior to that game was very much like, let's not overplay the issue with Taylor and Carter-Vickers. It seems like both of them are kind of fine, but neither of them are playing with their countries, and you would have expected both to be included in, you know, the Scotland and USA squads respectively. So there is an element of kind of maybe worry's not the right word, maybe intrigue would be better with those two, but I certainly would say that you would expect them both to start against Ross County. Aaron Moy pulled out of the Australia squad, so I'd say he's maybe slightly more of a worry, given that he'd missed the game against Hibs. Although, again, I remember Ange saying in the lead up to that game that both Moy and Tomoki Iwata could probably have played against Hibs at a push, but the club just felt it was better not to play them given that an international break was coming up. So you can add Iwata in as well as another injury concern, and his compatriot Reo Hatate, who went off injured against Hibs, of course. Now, what's that? Probably about 7 or 8 players there I've mentioned. Thankfully, none of them seem to be too substantial, which is good news. And we do have a really big squad, filled with players kind of ready to come in and impress. So in terms of Sunday, I wouldn't be too worried. Obviously, for the derby against Rangers at Celtic Park the following week, you want players to be back. But then again, I'm kind of looking at, and obviously Carter Vickers, Taylor are important players. As I say, I'd expect both of them to be okay for this weekend. But it's guys like Hatate and Moy, you really just want them to be doing okay and get back in that team. So I wouldn't say it's like an injury crisis or anything like that. We could hear from Ange on Friday, and he could basically say, everyone's fit for the game. So we don't really know until Ange speaks, but it just seems very much like this break has come at a good time for Celtic. They were starting to pile up a little bit, the injuries, and hopefully this break has helped. So that's the way I'm finishing, by crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. Our home game against Motherwell on April the 22nd has today sold out. Now, we've actually only got 4 more matches at Celtic Park this season, which makes me kind of sad, but I guess they're all going to be crackers. But Motherwell has sold out. We know the derby sold out, and I dare say the 2 after the split will sell out as well. And finally, if you're missing Celtic from your life, we do have a big derby this evening. The women's team are facing Rangers in the SWPL tonight at Broadwood. Celtic currently second in the table, 9 points behind Glasgow City, who are leading the league, but we do have a game in hand, so if we win tonight against Rangers, we go to 6 points behind. Still to play Glasgow City next month, so still a way to go there, but we probably have to win tonight. And if you're wanting to watch the game, you can actually watch it on television tonight, because Sky Sports are showing it, which I think is great. It's going to be live on Sky Sports Football, Sky Sports Main Event, and Sky Sports UHD. At this point, I'm just saying letters, but apparently it's on that channel as well from 7 p.m. Kickoff is at 7:30. Finally, good luck. I've already said finally, haven't I? Finally, Mikey Johnson in action tonight, hopefully for Ireland. They face France, which should be good. Sead Haksabanovic's Montenegro are at home to Serbia, which will be tasty, it's fair to say, given that those two have a bit of history, and I think were the same football team up until like 2006, 2007. I'm sure at the 2006 World Cup it was Serbia and Montenegro. So tonight it's Montenegro versus Serbia. Karel Starfelt, Sweden have got Azerbaijan. Whether he plays or not, we will have to wait and see. Callum McGregor and Alistair Johnson in action tomorrow. Johnson technically actually Wednesday, but the early hours of Wednesday for Canada. I will be back tomorrow to mix things up a wee bit again. We'll take another wee look at Celtic, and as I keep saying, we're really not that far away from the team being back this weekend. So yeah, let's keep going, enjoying the international football tonight. Maybe enjoy a little bit of respite, because it's all going to get very tasty when we come back.